التنكر كاد.
بس يعني
عملنا
مش
أكاونت.
بدون ما تفتحوا المايكس جايز، كرمال ما يصير كايس، بس اللي عمل اكونت يبعت على الشات او يرفع ايده. اوكي
طيب بدك نعمل لك بريزنت، شو رأيك؟
رح اعمل present almost everyone. Okay. So good. اوكي. ما راح كتير طول بالانترودكشن. انا مثل ما شفت البوست على الفيسبوك، شايفين ماي سكرين رايت؟ هذه شايفين السلايد شو ولا شايفين ال
شايفين هلا شايفينه منيح.
اوكي. انا عمر حجة، تلميذ قديم بالال اي يو، عم بدرس هلا نيورو ساينس ببودابست، وعامل هالورك شوب كثير يعني اكثر من 10 مرات، بس ان فيزيكال اتندنس هيدي اول مره بعملها فيرتشولي. شوي زنخ انه لما يكون عندك اردوينو وما تشتغل بايدك، بس السيموليتر اعطانا شوي البديل. فهلا الانترودكشن شوي ثيوري، في شويه كونسبتس لازم تتوضح كرمال يعني تقدر تفوت بالاردوينو او غير هيك. يعني بكون انا بس عم اعلمكم انه ليجو، ما بكون عم اعلمكم اردوينو. اول شيء اردوينو هو open source electronic very easy to use hardware، وعنده IDE. الاي دي اي تاعته مكتوبه باكثر من لانجويج. فيك تستعمل الاردوينو لحتى تعمل اي شيء بيخطر على بالك، يعني من سيرفر لتدور الكمبيوتر تبعك ل just 1 minute. من سيرفر لتدور الكمبيوتر تبعك لحتى تعمل اي كنترول بالبيت. اهم شيء نعرفه قبل الاردوينو، مين بيعرف شو الانالوج سيجنال وشو الديجيتال سيجنال؟
ديجيتال هو باينري نمبر.
اوكي partially right. الانالوج سيجنال هي اي كونتينوس سيجنال بيجي من الطبيعه، مثلا الضوء، الكهرباء، الكونستانت الكتريسيتي، الامبيانت تمبريتشر، البادي تمبريتشر. هول السيجنالز لما بيجوا على السنسورز بيكونوا انالوج، هول انالوج سيجنال بيكونوا كونتينوس. هول السيجنالز ما بيفهمون المايكرو بروسيسور او مايكرو كنترولر، ف we have to convert it. كمان اذا بتتذكروا بالسكوند I think او باك 1 اخذنا عن الميكروفون، كيف بيشتغل الميكروفون. انه بتكون اول شيء السيجنال فايبريشن ويف عم تطلع من تمنع، عم تروح على الممبرين، عم تعمله فايبريتنج لحتى ينعمل له عن طريق الماجنت ريكوردينج، بيرجع في عنا انكودينج اللي هو ديجيتال سوري انالوج تو ديجيتال كونفرجن، حتى يفهموا البروجرام او البلاتفورم اللي انت عم تعمل عليه ريكوردينج. بعدين عندك من ديجيتال لانالوج كونفرجن حتى يطلع على السبيكر. فهيدا مثلا واحد من الاكزامبل اللي كلنا بنعرفه. عندنا الديجيتال سيجنال هي سيجنال represent data in sequence. إذا نحن عندنا ال continuous signal بدنا نعملها representation in 0 or 1 binary مثل ما قال your friend. just 1 minute. هذه في وايت بورد بالميت.
Yes, just press on this on the 3 buttons on the right, and then you'll get the whiteboard option.
I don't see it. Okay. Okay. So it must start in a minute. Okay. Can you see it? Or I have to share it?
No, you have to share it.
Okay. So okay مثلا إذا نحن عنا هيدا temperature signal، هيك بتطلع السيجنال على الريكوردينج. هيدا الشيء ما بيفهم الكمبيوتر، فنحن عنا شيء اسمه analog to digital converters، بحول هيدي السيجنال لسيريز of 1 and zeros or 5 volt 0 volt. اوكي، فنحن حسب هون شو عنا سيجنال، هيدا الانالوج تو ديجيتال كونفرتر عن طريق mathematical equations بحولها من هيدي الانالوج سيجنال لهيدي الديجيتال سيجنال حتى الكمبيوتر يفهمها. وهي نحن مثلا لما بنغير ما بيكون يعني انه الزيرو والفايف اجباريين يكونوا موجودين، اللي راح يتغير هو الديوتي سايكل او السيكونس حتى يفهم المايكرو كنترولر او المايكرو بروسيسور. سو بيزيكلي هيدا الانالوج سيجنال ديجيتال سيجنال باختصار. Okay, now I'm showing the entire screen. Okay. So شو هو المايكرو بروسيسور؟ المايكرو بروسيسور هو كمبيوتر فيه central processing unit و integrated circuit، بيكون فيها الإيبروم، بيكون فيها الميموري، الفلاش ميموري، بيكون فيها الاي او تاعته، الانبوت اوتبوت. مايكرو كنترولر هو سوري قلبت، المايكرو بروسيسور هو السي بي يو، مايكرو كنترولر هو السيركت اللي بيكون فيها الاي او والمايكرو مايكرو بروسيسور. can be programmed الاي او والرام والروم والاو تي بي روم. Okay, so الأونو بورد uses microcontroller. ما بعرف إذا أنتوا أخذين مايكرو بروسيسور البيك 18 بيك 16، بس هون نحن عم نستخدم شيء اسمه أتميجا 328 بي اللي هو بيستعملوا الأردوينو أونو بورد اللي هو أشهر بورد. فالأوبريتنج فولتج 5 فولت، بس أنت لازم تعطيه أعلى من هيدي ال 5 فولت لأنه هو بنفس الوقت عم يعمل باورينج للبريفرنس. فالسجستشن هي بين 7 و 12. هلا الثيوريتيكال ليميت هي 20 فولت، بس أنا ما بنصح حدا يطلع عن ال 18 فولت لأنه ممكن تحرق البورد وتحرق اللي معه، خصوصا إذا عم تستعمل تشاينيز أردوينو. عندك طبعا عندكم طبعا ديجيتال انبوت وانالوج انبوت. 14 ديجيتال انبوت، 6 منهم هن باس بيعملوا باس تو موديليشن، رح اشرح عنها بعدين، اللي هن 3 والستة والتسعة وال13 وال11 و5 I think. وين هن الكارنت اللي بتطلع من الاي او هي 20 ملي امبير، هي اناف كتير لحتى تضوي ليد. انت مثلا لما بدك تكون عم تشغل ليد ما بدك درايفنج فولتج حتى لتوصل لسمول موتور، بس لما بدك شوي تطلع بالاشياء بصير بدك درايفنج كرنت او اكسترنال كرنت سورس حتى تقدر تشغل البريفرالز او الاشي اللي انت عم تستعملها. فلاش ميموري، اسرع، ايبروم، كلوك سبيد، يعني هول في لايك سبيكس. بس اهم شيء هو الكلوك سبيد، لانه انت مثلا اذا عندك شيء عم تعمل فيه انترابتس او تايم ميجرمنت، الكلوك سبيد تاعت الاردوينو هي 16 ميجا هرتز، ما فيك تطلع عن هيك. اذا بدك شيء اسرع بدك تروح على غير بورد. عم بحكي عن الاونو، اكيد في غير بوردز بالاردوينو عندهم كلوك سبيدز اعلى. في مايكرو كنترولرز ثانيين الكلوك سبيد تاعتهم بالجيجا هرتز مثل الرازبيري باي. في بلت ان ليد حتى تجرب الاردوينو بورد اللي عندك. اوكي، هلا اشهر اردوينو بوردز هن الاونو ليوناردو، هي بليش شوي اكبر من الاونو بالرام والروم. الكلوك سبيد 101 هي للبيجنرز، هي اردوينو بورد اللي مع شوية اوبتمايزيشن حتى تصير اسهل للاستعمال. بعدين بيجي عنا الاسبلورا، مايكرو والنانو، هول الويربل ديفايسز اللي عملوا مثلا يعمل شيء ويربل ديفايس. في حتى الاردوينو ميني بتجي مثل الساعة هلا انت ما لقيت الصورة قريبة يعني. بعدين نطلع شوي للأحجام الأكبر، الميجا، الزيرو، الديو. هلا أهم فرق ممكن تلاقيه بين الأردوينو ميجا والأردوينو أونو إنه أنت الأردوينو أونو محصور ب one serial port. يعني أنت عندك one serial port هو نفسه السيريال بورت اللي عم يعمل كوميونيكيشن مع اللابتوب. إذا أنت بدك تستعمل هذا السيريال بورت حتى تحكي مع أي ديفايس ثاني بدك تفك الأردوينو عن اللابتوب، أو ما فيك تعمل الكوميونيكيشن عن طريق هيدا السيريال بورت. بعدين بيجي عنا الأردوينو واي فاي بوردز. هلا في طبعا اشياء اجدد بكتير من هون. في اي اس بي الويموس، صار في اي اس بي 32 واللورا. but I was lazy to update the slides. هول بيشتغلوا على الاردوينو اردوينو اي دي اي. هن منن اردوينو بيست، منن ميجا بيست. البيست بروسيسور تاعتهم اسمه اي اس بي مايكرو بروسيسور، فيهم انتجريتد واي فاي اند بلوتوث. فيكم تستعملون مع الاردوينو او ستاند الون از بوردز. بس الاي او تاعتهم هول محدوده اكثر بكثير من الاردوينو. المور ادفانسد بورد مثل اللورا 32 فيها like 7 analog amp inputs and up to 32 digital inputs. That one is very good, and I think all the people are going toward that board. So guys, up to here, like I'm feeling like I'm rushing everything. Anybody has any question?
كله تمام.
Okay. So
I
I'm
guess
going
I'll
to. Okay, I'm going to continue now. So guys, مين منزل اردوينو اي دي اي او عنده اردوينو بالبيت؟ Raise your hand please or send on the chat. Did you hear my question, guys? Anybody has Arduino board in his home or have Arduino IDE on his laptop? Okay, Basil, Ahmed. Sunny, okay. So mainly ما رح نشتغل اليوم على الأردوينو IDE، بس for sure رح أرجيكم عليه كرمال، لأنه أنتم بالريل وورد ما رح تقعدوا تشتغلوا على الثينكر باد، رح تكونوا عم تشتغلوا على الأردوينو IDE. So شوية هيك notes عن Arduino IDE. هو open source platform for free، ما بتدفع شي عليه. كتير سهل تكتب كود. هو سي منه جافا، بس ما في كتير فرق، يعني كتير قراب من بعض، يعني ما تحس حالك عم تكتب جافا بالمبدأ. You can upload the code easily to the board one click. It operates on any Windows or operating system, Windows, Mac, or Linux. For sure, IDE integrates a development environment. It can be written in several languages, even Python, Java, C++, and C. It can be used with Arduino board and with Arduino like Wi-Fi boards, or the ones that Arduino firmware is flashed to it. So like ESP modules, BMOS modules, or the Wi-Fi modules on the market. I used like in 3 years ago, 4 years now, we are 2021. In my bachelor thesis, BMOS G1 and ESP 32. It was called Node MCU. I think you have the same board now in the market. So basically, الكونكشن كتير هين. عندك كوم كيبل بدك توصله على يور لابتوب as shown. بعدين بس تعمل كونكشن بتفوت على التوز. My board is not with me. My friend like borrowed my kit and he did not return it yet, so I don't have a board now between my hand. اوكي بتفوت على البورت وبتنقي البورت اللي انت رح تشتغل عليه. كمان انت عندك ضروري تنقي بالبورت سelection البورت اللي هي ادبت من التولز. واذا مثلا انت جايب واي فاي موديل مثلا، اذا ما لقيتها هون مثلا نود ام سي يو، اذا ما لقيتها هون تدور على اللايبراري تاعولتها وتحطها مانيولي. كمان إذا حدا عنده، إذا لقى بروبلم مع هيدا كمان فيني تساعده. الموضوع كتير هين. مش من البورد مانجر طبعا، بدك تروح على الفايل. So basically this is the Arduino IDE. We have 3 methods. Let me continue with the slide. Okay, we will use simulator today. You can find simulator like for every single thing that you think about. If you just type it on Google and like simulator beside it, you can find simulator. So to test your board, you have to open the IDE, go to ports as I mentioned, and select the board, like also the board selection. And for testing the board, you have to go to file example basic link. If you upload that code, I told you about the integrated LDE on the board. It will start blinking for each 1 second. And it's connected. I don't know where this 13 come from. Okay, so we have 3 methods in the Arduino IDE sketch. So mainly initialization, which is here. So you initialize your 0, for example, your variables, your boards. You call a library. Go to sketch, include library. For example, today we will use your servo. You include servo library. You name your servo. Name your servo. So That's the basic thing what you do. Void setup, like the code from Arduino, it begins from up till down. So the void setup will be read only once. So for example, what you do with void setup for pin mode. Sorry. You put 13. You want to print something for once.
سوري بس عندي سؤال.
يلا ثمانية بس. serial dot print. اوكي تفضل.
هيدا الاي دي اي موجود فور فري على الويب سايت او؟
Yeah, I mentioned that it's totally free. You can download it from the Arduino web page.
ضروري يكون هيدا الفيرجن صح؟
No, like if you are using an older version, I think it will work like it. It will have some stability issues, but it will
لأنه
work
شفت
for
هلا البوينت 13 أنت اللي معك هلا بوينت 12 البوينت 13 شكله حقه مصاري.
You know, I just
لا بيحطوا لك انه فيك تعمل contribution وفيك تنزله for free.
I just downloaded it yesterday, I think. So it's 1.8.12. That's the last one.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll continue with the codes. So for the void loop, you want to put like your code that you want to be repeated several times. For example, like you want to create a for loop. No need for this like. Okay. Getting used to R and Python makes you forget the semicolon. So another like thing that you can do in Arduino, like digital write. I will go over those. And so on. So mainly you have your initialization when you initialize a variable that you want to use in the whole code, like void setup, void loop, or you want to create another methods to call. You have your void setup where you like initialize the communication protocols. You set the pin mode. You put the code that you want to be processed or done only once, and your void loop. Here is your real coding, where you want to write the code that will run forever on that Arduino or that device. So I mentioned a few details about the pins. So you have to set up the pin mode as input or output, like, but there is one thing that digital pins are like by default outputs. So they're registered in the at mega board. Those pins are registered there as output, and the analog pin They are by default inputs. But you write this sentence for the clarity of the code, because if you have a senior project or you have like competition, your code should be clear. So pin mode, even sometimes meaningless, you have to include it. You have analog read when you read from your analog pins, A0 to A5, 6 pins. Digital read, where you read from 0 to 13, but basically you don't use 0 and 1s, 0 and 1 inputs or outputs, because they are result for the XRX of the serial communication with the computer. So if you use those 2 pins, this will cause some conflict. We will describe serial communication soon. Okay.
بس سوري عندي سؤال.
تفضلي.
بالكود اللي حطيته على الاي دي اي، ما المفروض نعمل define للسيريال مونيتور، نحط serial dot begin 9600
Yes.
قبل
Yes.
serial dot print؟
Yes. A shake handing protocol serial dot begin. You are right. But there is no specific. You can use this baud rate. There's several baud rates. I can't open my serial monitor, but it depends like which baud rate you are using. But they use basically 9600, I think, on almost most
نحن
of the
بنستعمل
cases.
9600.
So I think so. So you were right. So we have also digital yes.
سيريال دوت بيجن هيشو قصكم فيها وتحطوا الارقام فيها.
هيدا
شو تقصد؟
I will go I will mention it in the slides. هيدا handshaking protocol. They call it like that. Like if you don't handshake, like if you have a sensor, digital sensor, and you don't make the handshaking protocol, then the Arduino board will not know that it's connected to that sensor, and that sensor will not work. Similarly, the serial port that is specified on the serial monitor, if the Arduino does not start this handshaking protocol, it will not print anything on the serial monitor. And
يعني كل ما بدنا نستعمل sensors لازم نعمل هذه handshake protocol.
It depends. It should be the digital sensor or actuator.
Okay. Thank you.
You are welcome. So عندنا analog write. So as I described, we have digital to analog conversion and analog to digital conversion. That uses pulse to width modulation pins. I think it's the next slide. Okay, pulse to width modulation. So we have 6 pins, which has this type of mark: 3, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11. Those are pulse to width modulation pins. Can output pulse to width modulation. It takes 2 variables, the pin number and like the duty cycle between 0 and 255. Let me change the pointer. Okay, sorry, I forgot to describe something. Digital write takes the pin number from 0 to 13, as I mentioned. The 2 ports, you don't use them, or the 2 first digital input. Then you have to write low or high in capital. That what you output from digital pin manually, only 0 or 5. You have digital read, also from 0 to 13. You also read low or high. And analog read, it has this Arduino has a resolution of 8 bits. So from 10 bits, from 0 to 1024 or 1023. That's what the analog to digital converter can read on the analog input. We have two important function: delay. It has delay in millisecond, and we have delay microsecond for those who are using very sophisticated application. For example, heart rate monitoring, blood pressure monitoring, etc. So, too much theory. This is the last part of the theory, I think, positive modulation. So basically, you want to output analog signal or mimic analog signal. But as I mentioned, computer does not understand analog, so it can't output analog. But there is a trick or tweak that you can output analog from a digital device. It's called positive modulation. So if you see your electricity, they say that it has 15 Hz with 50 duty cycle. If you look on the old street lights from distance 1 kilometer, for example, you will notice that that light is blinking. That because it has 50% duty cycle. This is used to save power. But if you are very close to the light, you will never notice that, because it has very high, 1/50 Hertz. So it must be 0.20 second over 50. So it's 0.02 second. Your eye will not notice that 0.01 second that the light has been off for it. So, on the other hand, if you want to output an analog signal, for example, to mimic a motion for a motor, so you have something called duty cycle. As I mentioned, the analog signal is converted to the digital signal by series of 1s and 5. So by changing this series, you can change changing the analog signal will change this series. Vice versa, if you change this this series signal, this digital signal, you can output an analog signal. So, for example, if you want, we will see it in the brightness of an LED soon, the next experiment. So, if you set the duty cycle to 50, the brightness will be in the mid. If you set it to 0, the LED will be shorted or will have no light. So that's the pulse width modulation mainly. You have something called duty cycle that you control to control the analog output, and it has resolution of 8 bits from 0 to 255 in the 6 pins that I mentioned. And this is what I have mentioned. So my function, I'm describing my function to, we have to use it in the next experiment on Tinkercad. So you have to map a range of number from one to another. So instead of making a mathematical equation, for example, a equal x over b times 2, for example, you can use this map function to convert from bigger range to lower range, or vice versa. And you have to keep in mind that this function is used only for linear equations. If you don't have a linear thing, you can't use it. For example, you are converting 0 to 5 volts, which is the maximum input on the Arduino. sorry, 0 to 1023 to 0 to 5 volt, which is the maximum input on the Arduino I/O analog pins. By the way, I did not mention that you can also change the reference of the analog pins to be the maximum to be 3.3 volt by using a ref function. So you set a ref 2 brackets 3.3, and then the reference of the analog pins will change from 3.3 volt, from 5 volt to 3.3 volt. So the next experiment, we will use Tinkercad. We will connect LED to one of the digital pins and to the ground with potentiometer. Who does not know potentiometer, guys? Because I have encountered this many times. All of you knows what is potentiometer?
variable resistor هو.
Yes, it's a variable resistor. So they call it potentiometer because it's used to measure potential difference.
نستعمله بالجويستيك.
Right, نستعمله joystick. So mainly in the original workshop, we used to introduce the joystick, but unfortunately I did not find it on Tinkercad. So we have to manage to go without it.
عمر, sorry for the interruption. We're on standby إذا قصة hardware ما hardware. أنا صار كله عندي جاهز. I'll try to share my screen as a video إذا بدكم تشوفوا examples على هيدول.
نورت أستاذ عبد.
بس عبد بدنا نخليهم يعملوا شيء that they can apply. So that's the reason why.
Okay, sure, no problem.
If you can connect the servo, the servo joystick example would be fantastic.
Of course.
My wiring is not the best. Okay, guys. So if you go to the home of Tinkercad, I hate my connection. Where are my designs? Nice. Okay. You go to circuits, and you go. Everyone is following me, guys? Are you doing the same as I'm doing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So you click on Create Circuit. You are clicked in Create Circuit for sure. Let's wait till the circuit loads. So you search in here for Arduino. You can find it. You just take it and drag it here. Then breadboard. So you break the breadboard and put it here. Okay. And the other elements, LED and potentiometer. You can control the light and the color of the LED from here. It depends on which color you want. It does not really matter. And the resistance, you have to make sure that it's 1 kilo ohm. Like we know that the current from the Arduino digital pin is 20 milliamps. this will not like burn this LED, but for like more to be more like accurate in the current, and we drive the current that we want, we put this resistor. So to be more sure about how much current our LED will get. So I will give you four minutes to connect this, guys. And then I will show you the code.
بس عفوا مش لازم الكاثود على النيجاتيف والانود على البوزيتيف.
Yeah, it's right. Cathode are positive and anode are negative. Just 1 minute.
لا مزبوطين هيك. I'm thinking
مزبوط connection.
Yes,
Connection
مزبوطين.
مزبوط.
الريزيستنس كم اوم؟
1 kilo ohm.
اوكي.
So basically we have
ليش عملنا 1 كيلو اوم؟
so we have 5 volts. Okay, if you divide 5 volt over, you are driving the current now. If you divide 5 volt over 1 kilo ohm, you are getting like, I think 50 milliamps. So it's 50 milliamps.
عمر sorry for interruption. بس هلا انه نحن عم باخد الانترودكشن تو اردوينو كورس. نحن لازم نحط لها 220 اوم بعد تنكر كاد.
So like it does not really matter. It's like just for protection.
ما هو just for protection لانه بس ما نعطيها انه كارنت اكثر بس كرمال ما تحترق، لانه بيعطيك اوقات انه
بتعلى الكرنت اوقات هي.
Yes.
You can use whatever you want, like because the 1 kilo ohm is the most used resistor. But if you change it to 250, this will not change anything.
Okay.
So you basically will drive more current. That's it. Your LED will be brighter. So guys, anybody knows how to write the code for this?
بس شو بدك تعمل بالضبط بالليد؟
Control the brightness of LED using this knob or this potentiometer.
البوتنشيوميتر بنحطه input digital input. لا analog input. analog input.
Right.
إنه بدنا نحركه والليد digital input. output عفوا. إنه بدنا نضوينه.
Okay. Guys, can you see the code?
Yes.
You have, or you don't have any time to write it. I will copy it on the chat and just paste it. Okay, so you have the code, guys. I will explain something about the potentiometer. How does it work in this case? So guys, all of us who knows the voltage divider method, right? So basically this is a resistor. It's mainly a graphite potentiometer, I mean. It's mainly a graphite circle. It does not have like uniform resistance, but somehow it must be uniform. And you have some kind of like small, what can I call it, needle that touches the graphite and output on the middle pin. So basically you have now a voltage divider like this. Here is, okay, I'm not good in painting. So here is our, this is a variable resistor and this is another variable resistor. This is ground. Okay. So basically we are reading from this point. Okay. So when you change this resistor or this resistor, you're changing the voltage here. So the input on the Arduino will change. That's how potentiometer works. And that's why they call it potentiometer, because it has integrated, like, let's say, voltage divider that you can measure voltage using it. So basically this is the concept of potentiometer. If somebody have a question, just ask me. And to run the code on Tinkercad, you just click Start Simulation. And here we don't have any brightness, guys. If you like increase it a little bit, increase the resistance, or go to the maximum. So here our 5 volt, here our ground. You will see the LED started to shine. And vice versa. If you go to 0, it will turn off. Actually, in real life, it does not turn off, because this resistance, this variable resistance, has no 0. So it's impossible to reach 0. So we are controlling the brightness. But how are we doing that while we can't take analog out from this, a continuous signal? So as I mentioned, we are creating the analog signal using the analog write or bus-to width modulation. So first of all, the first thing that you have to do is setting the pin mode. So as I mentioned, those codes are meaningless, but you have to mention it or put it for clarity of the code. If you have a competition or project or anything, if you are like tinkering on your own, like making a project for yourself, like for just enjoyment, those are meaningless. By default, the analog input pins are inputs and the digital pins are outputs. So then we go, this should be where? Outside, not here. But it does not really matter as long as we are not using it in the void setup. So we start with analog read. So this function, as I mentioned, reads the analog pin input. So as we are connected to A1, it reads from 0 to 1 to 1023, 1023, and store it in this value or integer that called value. Then we use the map function to convert the value that we are reading from 0 to 123, which is the maximum range, to 0 to 55. So we are like mapping those two. We could like easily did this. S equal value over 4. But here we have like really integer number to divide on. It can work. But for example, if the factor is this number, this is not nice to do. So it's better to use the map function. And actually you will not get anything. You will lose a lot of data using that division. Then we go to analog write. As I mentioned, it takes from 0 to 255, sorry. So the maximum number is 255 when we are here, we are getting 0 on the analog input. So we have no brightness, nothing is coming from pulse to width modulation. For example, if I go here, I have like, for example, 25 duty cycle, let's say, which is 255 divided by 4. It's 64. For example, in here, if I go to here, I have 50% duty cycle. You see the brightness is increased. So I have 128 on the output here, and here we have 512 as input in the analog pin. If I go to the maximum, theoretically, I'm getting 1023 on the analog pin. It's theoretically. I don't guarantee to get that, like, because it's a potentiometer. It's not perfect. It's like in an experiment, everything can change. And here in the output of the digital pin, we are getting 255, which is full duty cycle or full clock. So it's getting constant 5s. Let me get back to the slides. So 25% duty cycle, it's up for only 25% of the time. That's why we have that dim brightness. If you go to 50% duty cycle, it's up for 50% of the time. But the clock of the Arduino is like 16 megahertz. If you divide 1 over 16,000, it's 0. Like it's you can do it. I can't like this is the number, which is very small. So it's impossible to be like visible or observable. So that's why if it's 25, you will not see it blinking. Even like less than 25, it's impossible to see it blinking. Even the brightness will decrease or it will increase. And full duty cycle, you will give it the full 5 volts, and it will have the maximum brightness. That's the first code that you will do. So guys, anybody have any question about the code? I would like to hear questions.
Yes, the map function, why did you choose those numbers بالضبط؟ ليش هول الأرقام؟
So كنت معنا أول presentation?
Yes.
Okay, so map function. So basically عندنا ال A5 to A0, okay, اللي هن ال analog pins. They output from 0 to 1023. And the pulse to width modulation, they can output this number. Okay, I think next we will go to Abbott. Or first we will do the traffic light. Guys, go to the main page of Tinkercad. And create a new circuit, please. Traffic light. This connection is nice, actually. And connect this circuit, please. You have, like, because it's easy circuit, you have only 3 minutes. As I mentioned, the color of the LED can be changed by clicking on the LED and choosing the color. Okay, time is up. So guys, this code is like quite have some delays and some like statement, but let's not go to the, let's say, the most complex way, but it can explain how the Arduino like really works or read the code. So I will copy the code just like the last time because writing it will take forever. And I want someone from the audience to explain the code. So guys, who want to volunteer to explain to the code?
Can you explain, please?
Yes, sure, Malak.
Okay, so let me go to the code, please. So when we said int red equal 10, int yellow equal 9, int green equal 8, we are kind of explaining like to what pins we connected the LEDs.
Right, yes. Malak, are you there?
Yes, 1 second, please. Yes. Okay, so in the setup, when we said pin mode, we mentioned the pins and we said if it's output or not. We are saying that the pins that we connected the LEDs on are outputs because the LEDs are outputs.
Right.
1 second, please.
باي ذا واي ما بعت لنا الكود كامل.
ايش انا وصل المشكله اوكي، في مشكله ما بيبعت اكثر، في limits، في word limit. Okay, so I will figure out something.
بعت الجزء الناقص منها تحت اللي بس بعد فيه شوي تحت.
Okay, so red and yellow. So هيدا ناقص. Okay, Malak, can you continue please now?
Yeah, of course. Can you please just go back to the code where we
Yes, sure.
the beginning? Thank you. Okay, we started off by writing digital write green low. We set the green light. We turned it off. We started off by it being off. Then we said digital write yellow high. We turned the yellow LED on. Then we said delay for 3,000 milliseconds. We want to keep the green and the yellow LEDs like in their states for 3 seconds. Then we wrote we set the yellow LED to low, so it was high. We turned it off. Same for red. We set it to high. Then we want to leave these two LEDs on their states for 5 seconds. After that, we turned the yellow LED on. Then we want to leave it on for 2 seconds. Same for yellow and red and green. We turned yellow off and red off and green high. Why do we have 2 delays here? Can you explain, please?
So basically, we wanted to put 18,000 millisecond delay. I think on the older Arduino version, it made some problem that's why we did this. I don't know if it will work right now if I combine those two together, but I want to try now. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So Malak, you are right, but let me add something. We're done here, but the code will start over. That's why we turn green low in the beginning of the code. If we don't do this, then the green will stay always high all over the code. So guys, there is an important note. Whenever you set a digital code a digital pin to high or low, you have to set it back to its original state, what you want it to be. Because if the void loop keep repeating, it will stay high if you don't turn it off, if you don't give it low. So it will keep high. So whenever you turn a digital pin to high or low, you have to set it back to high or low, depending on its initial phase, on how you want really to use it in your code. So now if we simulate this code, I'm changing the resistor because the light is dim, not that much. Okay, you can see it. So starting with red with yellow, as we mentioned in the code. Yellow, red. Okay.
الواحد ريد واليالو اثنيناتهم لو. اوكي مش الحال.
Okay. So it's working on your Tinkercad, guys, right?
Yes.
Anybody is facing any problem? Abid, are you with us?
Yes, I'm right here. كان بس في عندي مشكلة بالأردوينو درايفرز. يلا مشي حالها. يلا ثانية بس لحتى أشغل الفيديو.
Okay, not right now, like in 1 minute.
Okay.
Guys, some tips. Very important tips. أنا like 3 years ago لما بلشت أتعلم من الأردوينو تمنيت حدا لو قال لي إياهم يعني. Guys, mute your mics, please. Okay. So لما تجيبوا أي digital element شو ما كانت، أي sensor digital، أي actuator ياخد digital، أي chip تقدروا توصلوا على الأردوينو، أي بورد، أهم شيء إنكم تنزلوا اللايبراري تاعولتها. So basically you go to the Arduino IDE, sketch, include library. You have 2 options. If you don't like find, sorry, not, why did I, okay, include library. You can add a zip library, or you can go to the Arduino libraries, but I don't know why I don't have this option in here. It will open an online query of Arduino libraries. So you can use similar to this board manager. It will appear like library manager. I don't know why it's not appearing in my case. So you go to here, Arduino libraries, and you search. You put like DHT, for example, or whatever the sensor is, and you will find the library. If you don't find it, you can go easily to Google, for example, like DHT. Get up. Here you are. So guys, I don't know if you are communication engineers, me myself biomedical engineer, or whatever you are, like your specialty. GitHub for programming is the god, so you have to go to it. You have to use it. So download zip.
برو انت قلت GOAT ما هيك؟ قصدك greatest of all time؟
It depends.
ايه greatest of all time مظبوط.
Okay.
بلش عابد.
لا اذا قصدك ذا جو تو، لك ما فيك يعني قاعد صار لي ربع ساعه ماسك اكثر كمان ماسك حالي ماسك حالي ماسك حالي
100%
ما فيني ما اعمل جو، ما فيني ما اعمل جو.
Okay, so you go to downloads, open, and library is added to your libraries. You can go to your libraries and search for it. Where's the DHT? Here it is. Okay, so this is how you add a library. This is not only for sensors, guys. Actuators, displays, any output device that gives a digital thing should have a library. Anything. Analog devices does not have a library, but sometimes it has optimization code to like work in the most optimized thing. Because Arduino has built-in ADC, you don't need to grab an ADC and connect it to the Arduino. And basically, you have to use it, and you have like, it's the first thing that you have to think about when you get something for Arduino. Like before buying it even, search if this thing have a library for Arduino. If it does not have any library, it's meaningless to buy it. You have to write the library from zero. So you are wasting your time for nothing. Check for libraries always before buying even the stuff. Okay, لما بتنزل اللايبرري بتروح على examples. Okay, here those no, I'm talking in English Arabic. Okay, right, we did not hear any comments from Abed yet. Okay, so here you can find like the built-in examples or the built-in libraries that you will need it. For example, the communication serial, as we mentioned, and the Freud circuit background I downloaded for something, liquid crystal for LCD, SD, and servo. So I will choose the servo because it's the easiest to explain. You open the example, for example, any example, for example, knob. Okay. We are using very similar code in our simulation when we test the servo, because we don't have the joystick. I think Abed will show us the joystick on camera. So first thing, you have to include the library if you want to use the library things. Second thing, you have to define an object or an element. So if you want to use like a library, like we did in Java, I think I can't recall the code, but when we wanted to use the print, I think we printed print or something. We called
في السكانر معروف في السكانر.
Just mention it because I totally forgot Java. I'm not using it I did not use it for like 3 years or more. So scanner scan, yes. So you are calling a scanner. You are defining a scanner to use. So if you want to use to scan from the terminal of the Java, you just call scanner scan. And if you want to use the scan code, you want to scan .end, I think something. So the same thing is in C or in Arduino. You have to create an object from that library in order to use this library. So here we call it my server. You can call here they call it my server. You can call it S. For example, if you want to make an easy code, but it's not nice, guys. If you want to create your serial project or a project for a competition, it's not nice to use shortcuts. Use very clear code. Okay, so you created this object. You can use it all over the code from this library. So my server.attach, as I mentioned, the handshaking. You can understand all the functions of the library from the examples. So there is another example in the servo. Sweep. We have right position. Okay, we have right value. So you see, that's it. Everything you need to know about servo is included on those examples. Those examples make your life very easy. Don't make it hard and search on Google. Just use the examples that are included in this library. So this is for servo. Let's go for the HT, for example, so you don't get your mind fixed on servo. So you have unified sensor. The HT is humidity and temperature sensor. So you have a function that those all are not the HT sensor function. Those are one-wire functions, but you see you included the HT. You defined the HT type, the HT22. Okay, and then you are reading from the HT.temperature.get event, the HT.humidity.get event. So you are reading the humidity and temperature from this sensor, which are the main reason that this sensor exists. And you see every single piece of code is included in the example. Also, you can test your element. There are like mostly in every single element tester code. And you can do it by your own on whatever element you want to use. Now I will leave
بس سؤال
the stage to عبد. اوكي تفضل.
معقول في شيء سيناريو انه يكون احسن ما تستعمل لايبراري وانت تعمل الكود من اول، ولا على طول الافضل انك تستعمل لايبراري؟
I told you, if there is an element that does not have a library on Arduino, don't buy it. For senior project or a project, writing a library will take more than 3 months. You have to do optimization, you have to write the code from zero, you have to you have to do tests, you have to do calibrations, you have to do many things.
Okay.
So if you are doing a single project or a competition project, don't, unless this is your goal. This sensor is your goal to create library for this sensor. Don't buy an element without a library. This will make your life very hard.
اوكي ميرسي.
Okay. اهلا وسهلا عبد. الو.
يلا اوكي يلا معكم. بس بدي اعمل تشيك اذا شايفين كلكم الفيديو.
عبد فيديو شو؟ I will keep sharing the screen.
I'm
You
live.
have to... Okay, you have to talk about the serial communication protocol.
لحظة كل فكرة تكلم الفيديو تاع لحظة. اوكي serial communication protocol. هي قصدك انه الكوميونيكيشن. اوكي لحظة لكن نحط الفيديو on pause for a second. Okay, greetings everyone. هلا بحال انا غلطت يعني عمر دغري بيعمل interjection واكيد he'll insist on embarrassing me in front of everyone بحال عملت اي غلطه. ف anyway let's start. نحن بنعرف انه دائما بالاردوينو نحن بالاساس هلا until now all we saw was how the Arduino is used to is programmed and used in using other devices such as the analogs, such as the servo, such as the LEDs. It can read information from the potentiometer and then write them to the LED to control its brightness. However, the Arduino as well can be connected to another Arduino and they can communicate with each other. There are different types of communications, which are the protocols. It can use, like you said, many protocols. The serial communication uses the TX-RX, which means the transmitter-receiver protocol. If you look at the Arduino, you'll see that the digital pin 0 and digital pin 1 represent RX and TX respectively. RX means the receiver, TX means the transmitter. This allows us to send one bit at a time between the Arduinos, from the transmitter to the receiver. يعني, how do we connect those Arduinos to each other? الTX تبع الفيرست Arduino we connect it to the RX of the second Arduino. والTX تاع السكند بنوصله على الRX تاع الفيرست. يعني T على الR والR على الT. حسيت حالي قلت شيء غلط.
You did it right. I will just
yes.
I will like just
show them visually. Yes.
Paint it. Okay. So here we have RX, TX, RX, TX. Okay.
بس شو الادفانتجز انه نحن نجمع اثنين اردوينوز مع بعض نعمل كونكت؟
Okay. So sometimes Arduino boards are overwhelmed. So you need to use more inputs, and you are like sometimes. Sorry, I wrote. Okay, so sometimes you have to use multiple Arduino Uno boards or Arduino Mega even to use some kind of simulation, or like if you want to do like smart home. It's not practical to put one Arduino and do the wiring from that Arduino all over the home. It's not like a practical thing to do. So you have to use multiple Arduinos and use Wi-Fi. That's one of the examples, and there are several. Like in my project, I had to use to make a wearable device that consists from 2 parts. And I have to connect those 2 parts together. I used Wi-Fi. One of them was the master, and the another was the slave. And even in one of the devices, I used to Arduino because there was a shortage on Node MCU, so I had to use WeMOS board, and the sensor that I have been using is not compatible with WeMOS, so I have to use the WeMOS as only Wi-Fi. That's another, like, you will encounter this a lot. So guys, the connection basically is X. The receiver of the first to the transmitter of the second, and the transmitter of the first to the receiver of the second. Okay, Abid.
Okay. Another type we have is the serial class. So we have the 2 methods, serial.print, serial string, and the serial.println. These methods they print serial monitor on your IDE. يعني إذا أنت مثلا you can send information from the first Arduino, and that information is displayed on the serial of the second Arduino. السيريال we can access it قلنا مثل بالماجنيفاير، ومثل ما قلنا الماستر سليف ريليشن هي الموديل اوف كوميونيكيشن. يعني عندك انت one device sorry, عندك one device has main or general control over the second or multiple devices. يعني you can have one master, one slave, or one master and multiple slaves. هذا المين device هو اللي انت you set انه as the main device، يعني اللي بيقرا processing بيقرا كل شيء من other devices و then sends to these devices شو لازم يعملوا. يعني مثلا you made a smart home system فانت عامل الماستر يونت حاططها عندك مثلا بالبيت وعليها موصل انت البريفرالز او السليفز فمنهم انت بتصير مثلا عندك البريفرال تاع السكيورتي مثلا عندك السليف تاع الهيوميديتي عندك السليف تاع التمبريتشر هذول كلياتهم متوصلون على الماستر اردوينو اللي هي عم بيوصل لها كل هالانفورميشن وعلى اساسها هي عم ترجع تعمل عم بتوزع مثلا كيف بدك توزيع المهام على بقيه الاردوينوز يعني to put it in simpler terms. هيدي هي بيسكلي الكوميونيكيشن بروتوكولز يعني انت بالنهايه عم تعمل كوميونيكيشن بين تو اردوينوز مثل ما قال عمر ممكن لانه مثل ما قال انه بالهوم سكيورتي او بالهوم اوتوميشن ما فيك تستعمل وحده لانه في كثير داتا بدك تعمل لها اناليسيس وشغله ثانيه انه اذا عندك مالتيبل ديفايسز بدك تعمل مالتيبل بورتس مثل مالتيبل بارتس او عندك اكثر من شغله again you use multiple Arduinos.
Okay, this is the serial monitor. Guys, just one thing. In this presentation, serial is wrote in a wrong way. S is capital, not small letter. And Arduino Uno is case sensitive. You have to bear in mind. Abed, I will stop sharing my screen so you show the guys.
The serial?
The serial monitor, serial.print and serial.dot.
Yeah, just a second. Okay, serial. Okay. بس الاقي الكود.
Can you share your screen?
ايه يلا just a sec بس لأطلع الكود تاع serial print. Okay, يلا just a sec. And sharing screen. Okay. So this is the لحظة واحدة sorry my bad just a sec.
Abed, share your whole screen.
يلا already done. Okay. So هيدا هلا الكود تاع السيرفو تنعمل اول شيء الكود تاع شو اسمه لا مش وين عم فوت انا نيو اوكي البيسك سيريال شو اسمه في as we said we initialize with serial.begin and we can set the baud rate we'll set it to 9600 then in the loop we can set for example serial.print hello world.
Oh my god. Just try it.
The iconic program.
Just try it. Hello LIUs.
hello bro اكتب بس
لا
hello.
ما هو LIU students are my world عرفت كيف؟
okay.
Okay. Now we have to save it. I'll just call it okay. Never mind the capitalization. Just a sec. Okay, now we open. Immediately it's giving me this. What's happening here? The problem is إنه أول شيء it's auto scrolling. We can stop the auto scroll as you can see, but it's still printing. It's printing hello world but without spaces all on the same line. We can fix that by simply putting instead of putting print put print ln, which means print on a new line. We re-upload it. We open the serial monitor and it's printing hello world. You can see it's printing really fast. يعني إذا مثلا if you want to print an amount of data هيدي سهلة لأنه hello world it's repeating بس بدك تطبع data readings و raw data والاشياء هيدي بصير يطلع لك كل الأرقام هيك بسرعة. what we can solve this simply by adding a delay. A delay هي بكل بساطة أنت عم تعمل مثل تأخير لأنه إمتى كل مرة بدك إياها تعمل print. مش تأخير مش يعني delay ل how many times it reads. لا, the Arduino will still read at the same rate. The delay shows at which rate you want it to print this information. So let's say, for example, we want to delay it for half a second, يعني 500 milliseconds. We put the delay, we re-upload it, and then we open the serial monitor. As you can see, every half a second, it's printing hello world. So this is basically... اوكي لا allow us نحن هلا بالبروجرام we set it ل 9600. let's for example set it to 19200. اوكي you see what happens. اول شيء ما بقى عم تطبع على نيو لاين، عم تطبع على السيم لاين، عم تطبع لي garbage data اللي احنا بنسميها هيدي، اللي هي بكل بساطه ليه شو اللي عم بيصير هون. what you are sending information at a certain rate بس الاردوينو is trying to print it at a different rate. فبدل ما يوصل له انه at the same time عم بيوصل له يعني بت هون بت هون بت هون، ما عم تعرف هذا اللي عم يطلع معي اخر شيء يعني ما عم بيتركب بشكل مضبوط.
Let me explain it in other words. So the baud rate is the clock speed that the serial communication protocol is using. So when you start the handshaking between the Arduino, as we mentioned, Arduino did begin in the code. When you start the handshaking protocol, you have to set a baud rate, which is the clock speed that the Arduino will send the data to the computer to the computer to display it on the serial monitor. So if we change this clock speed that the computer is reading the data, it will read garbage data. That's why we have to set baud rate for the Arduino and computer to be like, it's like just some let's say اتفاق بين الكمبيوتر والاردوينو انه نحن متفقين على هاي السرعه تحكي فيها، اكثر من هيك سرعه انا ما بفهم عليك ولا انت بتفهم علي. فهيدي السرعه اللي انت لازم تحطها على بقلب الكود، وهيدي السرعه انت لازم تحطها بالسيريال مونيتور. وهيدا الشيء بيصير كمان بنفس الوقت اذا بدك توصل تو اردوينوز. عبد can you show them the plotter?
Yeah. Okay, serial plotter he basically it prints a graph. هلا because the data that I input is serial، يعني مثلا ليك انا I printed hello world، انه هدول letters منهم شيء فيك تحطه على graph. ف how do we use the plotter? We basically go back to hello world. Instead of saying serial print hello world, what we can do is make a simple loop, which we say for example for I Python for I equals to 0
brackets عبد.
yes
int
yes
I.
sorry int for int انا ما عملها اوكي for int I equal to 0 we define I بنقول
عبد
I
you are writing in Python, write it in Java or in C.
يا زلمه ما هو الواحد لما يتعود على البايثون ما بقى فيك خيي once you go Python you can't انه تتعود على شيء ثاني.
اوكي حط براكتس
بعدين براكتس
حط فوق
حط براكت
حط براكتس فوق للفور
لا
للاي
I can't see man I can't see the brackets.
لحظه واحده
البراكت دغري بعد الفور.
عبد مش كيرلي براكتس.
فهمت عليك اوكي
علق عبد
عامل لك تعودنا على البايثون for I equal ل 0 اوكي
عم تمزح عبد عم تمزح
لا ما خلصت
يا عبد عم تمزح اكيد.
هون بقلب
بقلب الفور
عم تمزح عبد عبد فيش وقت للمزح ابدا.
لحظه انا بعد اعمل شير
يا عبد فيش وقت للمزح ابدا.
اوكي ماشي سوري انا بس المشكله تعودت كثير على البايثون. اوكي for int I equal ل 0 لحظه خليني مش اعمل
هيدي برو بروجرامر موف جوجل.
برو بروجرامر النوب موف كانت اني ما اعمل ستوب للشيرنج. anyway اوكي for int I equal ل 0 I plus
قبل الاي بلس بلس بتحط اي اكبر او اصغر للشيء.
عبد you are a graduate.
I'm a graduate اللي صار له زمان ما مستعمل هالبروجرام هيدا فعفيني شوي.
اوكي شو حطيت انت اكبر ولا اصغر لانه مش مبين عنا. can you make the screen bigger؟
حط I equal 0 مرة ثانية هيك شيء.
لا ثاني ما عامل I equal ل 1 I greater than 0.
اوكي
اوكي print ln I
سيميكولن.
يس بس دقيقة واحدة. اوكي we upload this ثانية واحدة بس ثانية لا اوكي برجع احطها لهيدي.
عبد انت حاطط
عم بحط كمس كان
عبد خلص.
انا
لازم تحط serial dot print يمكن.
serial dot print يس.
انتم شايفين شو بصير لما تتعودوا على البايثون؟ بيخرب لكم كل شيء ثاني كلانجويج.
كتبت مرتين print. اوكي
يس
شيل الهلو وورد لانه رح تنزع كل شيء.
I know نرجع بنخلي الديلاي and we print. هلا بنفوت من هون على السيريال بلوتر لانه اذا رجعنا بس على ماجنيفيكيشن رح تاخذنا على المونيتور. اوكي وهيو اتس بلوتينج.
اوكي ثانك يو عبد.
الظاهر عم يطبع بسرعه الظاهر كله. حط الديلاي بقلب
هلا انا حاطط الديلاي برا اللوب and this is infinite loop.
يس
هاي هلا شو مثل اذا بدنا نرسم جراف او
اذا مثلا انت عندك رو داتا بدك تحطها ترسمها بجراف، مثلا عم تشوف الحركه بجايروسكوب مثلا او التمبريتشر سنسور بدك تعمل مابينج للفلكتويشنز بالتمبريتشر او اي شيء ثاني، عم تشوف السترينث اوف ا كونكشن، تصير هي تعطيك داتا وانت هالداتا بتعملها بلوتينج على سيريال بلوتر.
بس عفوا على المقاطعة، شو اسمه، أنا بعرف إنه بايثون هي مخصصة لتعمل لك أشياء بطريقة أسهل بكتير، ماذا ما بتحتاج نعمل أردوينو، يعني نكتب 3-4 سنتنسز وبنعمل نقدر نعمل بلوت لجرافس وكمان different types of graphs.
فيك تعمل بلوت، بس السؤال الداتا اللي بدك تجيبها من العالم الحقيقي من وين كيف بدك تلقطها؟
اوكي عبد he has a point.
تعمل library مثل ما هون تعمل.
He has a point. You can store your data in Excel sheet, then write a code, then let the Python
أكيد.
Then let the Python draw it. But here
بس هو عبد قصده إنه من الحقيقة يعني إنه real temperature، عرفت كيف؟
Guys, let me finish my sentence, please. Okay, you can store it in Excel sheet, for example, and then upload it to another program to plot. But why do so? If you can right away plot it and understand the data, why to wait like till I store the data for like 10 minutes, then write another code to plot the data, then I understand the data, then I do the same thing, same procedure, which will take forever. So this will make your life very easy. You can observe the data right away.
اكزاكتلي، خصوصا اذا بدك لايف فيد، ما بدك داتا تعمل لها ستورينج، بدك شيء عم يتغير قدامك. هلا تكنيكلي فيك تعمل بروجرام ثاني وتمشيه بارلل معه، بصير ياخذ الداتا من الاردوينو ويطبعها على بايثون. انه تكنيكلي يو كان دو ذس، بس انه اذا بدك شيء خلص سمبل ودغري بس يعطيك البيز الانيشال ريزلتس، يعني هيدي البيرفكت سوليوشن.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Abid, thank you. I will take it from here.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you, Abid, very much.
You're most welcome.
As Abid mentioned, we can connect two Arduinos, for example, together to create a system. So I will talk about some serial library functions, like serial.print and we like talked about. You can declare another serial port, but it will be connected to the same serial port, which is 01 on the Arduino port. So you say software serial RX, my serial RX pin, TX pin. But I prefer if you call it 01 like directly, if you want to use it, just like use the integrated serial. But you can't use the other function without calling the serial library. Okay, without calling software serial, guys, you can't use serial.write, serial.read, or serial.available. you have to go to the Arduino Uno, sketch, include library, and software serial. If you want to use, let me change the pointer. If you want to use serial.available, serial.write, or serial.read, you have to include the software serial. For to declare another serial port, also you have to use the serial software serial library. So after you connect to devices or to Arduino and decide on which clock rate the serial communication will work. For example, we'll send the bits on one time. You can use serial.available to check if the two Arduino boards is connected. It will give back a true or false, 0 or 1. 1 if they are connected, and 0 if they are not. And serial.write to write on the Arduino sending or transmitting, and serial.read to write from the receiving or the receiver of the RX. So you have to, I don't know, there is a spelling mistake here, serial. Okay, so you have to keep in mind those codes. Now we are going to do some fun experiment, and we will need habit. We will use servo motor. So basically, what is a servo motor? Servo motor is a DC motor with potentiometer and control circuit inside it. So if you want to move the servo motor for it moves only on angles, and it does not make full rotation. If you do full rotation, you will break the control circuit. Never rotate your servo full rotation. Okay, and even don't try to rotate it at all by your hand. So it has potentiometer, control circuit. So the control circuit receives an angle, and it turns the power to the motor. Okay, nobody sent anything.
عندي سؤال بس.
مين اللي عنده سؤال بس يسأل؟
أنا محمد. شو بيفرق السيرفو موتور عن الستيبر موتور؟
اوكي، ستيبر موتور هو بالمبدأ عبارة عن بيمشي ستيبس. اوكي، والكنترول تاعته غير الكنترول تاعت السيرفو. هو بيسكلي اصلا ما بيكون دي سي موتور، هو بيكون عبارة عن ماجنت، حواليه ماجنتس، ومحل انت ما بتعطي فولتج بيعمل روتيشن. هيدا السيرفو ما فيه دي سي موتور بالمرة، ما في شيء اسمه دي سي موتور بقلب السيرفو. السيرفو شيء ثاني كليا، موتور ثاني. اما الستيبر هو ما فيه دي سي موتور، ما فيه دي سي موتور بالمرة. فالستيبر هو another type of let me show you the stepper inside. Can you see?
أنا عملت بروجكت عن الستيبر موتور وقدرت أتحكم بالأنجل وكل شيء، فما عم بسألك إنه شو بيفرق عن السيرفو. عم تقول هلا السيرفو كمان
for more accuracy، والستيبر بيعمل full rotation. لا أنت التورك وال like if you want like to do like to make the hand like stop right away and nothing can move it, you have to use a stepper, not a servo. The servo has some torque, so it will vibrate when it's moving, and it can't handle very high weight. So that's why you use servo. A stepper, sorry. And it has more accuracy on the angles, for sure. It depends on how many coils are there and blah blah blah. Okay. So potentiometer rotates and send the value to the control. And as you see, like in servo, we are using potentiometer, which is not a very accurate device to use, like to control something. While there, we are using those coils to control it, where it will rotate. Okay, and if the desired angle reached, the control circuit will turn off the motor. So basically, the servo should be, we need to get an analog signal from the, an analog signal from the Arduino to use the servo. But how? The pins that output analog on the Arduino, like in pulse width modulation, are 3, 6, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11. That's why we use the third one. Okay. So now we will go to Tinkercad, and I think Abed has prepared already the circuit.
Yes.
For joystick, he will show us later, and we will connect this. Abed, mute yourself, please. Okay, guys. Just like before, right here, servo. You will find micro servo right away. Just drag and drop and connect the circuit. You have 3 minutes to do so. And the code on the chat.
Do you want me to share my screen for the code?
No, Abed, we are not doing now this, the joystick.
The servo. Yeah, I have it. The code for the servo.
No, I will copy it for like a more convenient way.
Okay, no problem.
It's still here writing. I wrote. Sorry. Still, we have joystick here in the context, but it's not a joystick for sure.
Can you see the circuit?
Oh, sorry. So guys, here we have ground, power, and signal. Okay, the ground should be grounded for sure, power to 5 volt, and the signal to the pin 3. Every single element or actuator or sensor has its own datasheet. So you can easily download the datasheet and find out how are you going to connect it. So guys, time's up. I'll start the simulation. As you see, it can't perfectly go to the 0 angle since we are not perfectly giving it a 0. As you move with the knob, the angle will change. Okay. And even in the maximum, you can get 360 angle, because also there is some imperfections on this stepper. But if you take this wire, okay, and connect it directly to the ground, you will get a perfect zero angle. Still no, there is no perfect zero angle in here. But I mean, in practical, you will do for sure. We need some resistor, I think, to do so in here. So let me explain the code. So first, I included the servo library. If you want to include library in here, you go to here, libraries, you search for the library. You are very limited in here. So don't think about like you can do too much in this platform. Okay. I called an element, or like defined an object from this library, called it servo1. The angle value from pin 1, analog pin 1, that's why I called it int angle equal 1. So I made it like intentionally not to write pin mode in here, to show you that even though if you don't write pin mode in the void setup, it will be by default, the analog will be input. So servo.attach the handshaking protocol mentioning the pin that I have connected the servo to. And then in the void loop, just like the previous code, I read the analog value of the potentiometer, the voltage divider value on A1. And then I mapped it to 0 to 180 because the servo can take only 0 to 180. So it maps the original pulse width modulation value 0 to 555 to 0 to 180 in its own code. So we can use meaningful numbers. So if you want to give it 90-degree angle, you don't need to write 64, for example. You just write 90 degrees or 90 and servo.write. Then you write servo.write, you write the angle in here. I'm taking the angle value from here, from the map function. And that's the code. Anybody has any question? Okay, so no questions so far. I will continue. So we have LCD, which is very old technology, but unfortunately I did not find any other display on Tinkercad, so we will use that. And even though you will not connect in real life this circuit anymore. Let me show you. So guys, if you go to just create a new circuit. I did not do too much in here. Like I grabbed the same circuit from their platform because I don't really memorize all this connection. Nobody does. And I wrote here LCD. They have this thing, and you just grab it here. So instead of connecting all those like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pins to the Arduino. So we are connecting 12 pins to the Arduino with this knob to control the brightness. Instead of this, you can bring this LCD I2C module So you will solder your LCD to this, which is very easy, and connect the LCD with 4 pins. But unfortunately, on Tinkercad, we can't find this module. So if you write I2C, the thing will appear. I will describe I2C in a few minutes. And you can use this knob to change the brightness, like similar to this variable resistor in here of the LTC, the backlight, the LCD. And mainly, you solder this, you connect the ground VCC, SCL, and SDA to the Arduino, and you use it like in ongoing, like 4 pins, not 11 pins, and you get something wrong in the circuit, you have to redo the whole circuit. So I advise whoever wants to use this old screen to use this. Okay. So the pins are ground. We have eight data pins, which are connected to the data pins on Arduino. 6 in here, because 2 of them are redundant. So we are connecting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we connect only from B0, I think from B0 to B5. We have backlight VCC, which is connected to this whipper to control the brightness. I was which the pulse modulation for sure. That's good. Whatever. VEE, we don't. It's a contrast, and the supply voltage, and we have resistor select. You can send select a command when it's high or low. We set it to high for sure. To read write, okay, we need to write, and we enable the data, sending the data. So mainly, I will, if you start simulation here, hello world, hello LIUs, I wrote it yesterday. I did not edit too much. Here you have explanation of all the pins and starting of the code. It's included actually in here. If you go to file, examples, liquid crystal, like where is hello world, you can see the same example. So you are using those 6 pins, losing those 6 pins to, or using, let's say, to control, to start the communication, or to start to define an element. You start the communication on 16 and 2 pins. So those pins are from the LCD, sorry. And to test it, like you print hello world, and to print on the next line, you do set cursor. So basically, this is a matrix, 16 by 2 matrix. So you have 0, 1, which is 0, 0, which is the first line, 0, 1, which is the second line. You have only those 2 options on the lines. But this 0, you can do it from 0 to 15 to write from the start to the end of the LCD. Okay, and even you can scroll it if you use a loop. Where is it? Liquid crystal. Scroll. Or you can use the scroll function, scroll display left or scroll display right. So that's how you understand the basic code. But guys, look here. If you see the connection, if you use the normal connection, I'm not saying it's not doable, it's doable, but you lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pins. Okay? But you can do that by using only 2 pins, the 13 and the 12. which are the I2C or I2C protocol. So I advise anyone to buy the screen with the module if you want to use this old LCD. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation. We have like 2 more slides I want to talk about. Communication protocols, like not only the serial communication protocol, which is an old communication protocol and very slow one, because it sends only 1 byte per second. There is another protocols that depends on serial bus. So what is serial bus? So you have a connector, you have a couple connector. So for example, I'll use this connector. So basically this is a USB, it uses serial communication, it's not, so each wire of this can conduct a serial bus of 8-bit, but this is a serial thing, so it will not do the same. So if you use a copper wire, the normal copper wire, the Arduino will use it to not move 1 bit per second. It can go to 8-bit resolution. And this one wire, it works with many sensors like the HC sensor, the carbon dioxide sensor. It was invented by Dallas, no, not Dallas, some like American company that produces sensors. And even you can use only 1 wire without ground or voltage, but it's always like, and to make it more practical, we use ground and voltage and the capacitor. So at the same time that the sensor is receiving data from the Arduino, it can charge the capacitor and then collect data and send to through the wire bus. You can't find this like in many sensors, but it does exist, only 1 wire sensor. But like there are another type of 1 wire sensors that uses normal ground and voltage. One more, just to talk about the library. You can connect using 1 wire to Arduino. So that's why they created another type of protocol called I2C protocol. This protocol also uses the bus thing. So, but here you don't have to create like a transmission rate or a baud to decide, or clock rate to decide between the devices, because the devices are already in synchrony, because you connected to clock. You have 2 pins, S data and S clock. You connect both S data pins. Let me go to the whiteboard. Clear frame. So you have here STA. S clock. SCL, sorry. Okay. Same here, STA. You connect this SCL to this SCL and this data to data. So what's happening here? The clock are in synchrony because they are connected, and so they can understand each other, whatever the data is sending. So in 1 wire protocol, you can send or receive in the same time. Similarly on serial, but in I2C, you can receive and send using the same wire. and like it's 7. It actually does not use all the 8 bits to send data. It uses only 7 bits, and 1 bit is made as an ID, 0 or 1, to understand who is sending and who is receiving between those. You don't write this in the code, but this is only a theory thing. Okay, so you just grab the I2C library included. I think I have it here. Okay, I don't have it here. I can't add the library. Okay, so I don't have it on my Arduino IDE. So you call the wire library or I2C. You can connect to Arduinos, but here, like if you want to, you can use multi-slave, multi-master. Like in contradict to serial, you only can use only master. So in here, you can, the same master can be slave and the slave can be master at the same time. As I send you that the connection is bidirectional, it can send and receive data at the same time. So you start the transmission. You, as I mentioned, you get the slave address. There is a code to get. Let me grab the I2C library.
Omar, if you want, I have the library if you want me to show it to them. Okay, never mind.
Okay, I got it out, sorry. Okay, so Abid, I think you have to show it, but just give me 1 minute. Wire library, wire. Oh, here it is. So examples, servo, stepper, Ethernet. SPI, wire. Okay. So scanner. You use this code, I2C scanner, to find the ID of the sender or the receiver. Okay. So on both sides, so if you are connecting to Arduinos, you have to find the address to start the transmission. So you use this code, it can find, so it's printed on the serial monitor. I can show, sorry, the screen, the serial monitor, and easily you can find the address in here. So you find the address, you grab it, you put it on the code, you start the communication. Okay, you send data. You can send strings, characters, even like doubles, which you can do in serial. It's very hard. You only can send on serial only string data. So you have to convert everything to string before send it on serial. So wire on receive, this is like to keep the Arduino listening to the I2C port. Wire.available is very similar to serial.available. It checks like if the connection is available, and you can end the sending using wire.end transmission. Then the wire on receive is doing nothing right now, or the wire that began. This wire that begin must be written in the void setup. This wire that on receive should be written on the loop, So this is the start, this is the beginning. So guys, actually, I don't know if Abid told you, but you have to do a task to get the certificate. So you have till Sunday 12th, so 00 a.m. or 12 a.m. to create 2 traffic lights in an intersection. So basically, I will draw it. I think.
What if إذا already عملها؟
You are cheating. What if already عملها? طيب, I will give you another hard task. Okay. So this is not an intersection. This is an intersection, so we have traffic light here, basically to manage the way here, traffic light here to manage the way here. Okay, this is only unidirectional, so it's only, you have only forward, so you don't have 2 lines, you have only 1 line. So هذا basically المطلوب. هلا بالنسبة للي عاملينه للتو ترافيك لايتس، مين أخبرك على التاسك؟ أو أنت عامل معي الورك شوب قبل؟
بدنا نعمل شيء لا بس أنا كنت عم بدي أجرب استعمل تينكر كاد فتعلمتها شوي من لوحدي.
Okay, guys, don't use Google. You can find it on Google. But like, if you use Google, then you tried nothing, then you learned nothing. I do this like only like it's guaranteed, even if you're still getting the certificate is guaranteed, even if you send a wrong code. But I just want you to try to write a code by your own, even though it's a very simple code. But just to try it. Until that's it. Okay?
صفوان
تفضل.
هلا عم بالورك شوب عملنا بتاني وحده ترافيك لايت. شو قصدك انه بترافيك لايت بتو ليدز؟ يعني بنحط ضوء 2
يعني انت هلا you have to do 2 traffic lights that works in harmony.
عمر if I may.
اوكي تفضل عبد.
اوكي شباب وصبايا اكيد، نحن بتعرفوا على الانترسكشن عندنا اشاره السير اصفر واحمر واخضر، وعلى نفس الشيء على الجهه الثانيه. انتم بتعرفوا وقت تكون انت على اول جهه من الانترسكشن اشارتك حمراء، اللي على اللي بيقطع على اليمين انت بس ماشي دغري، اللي عم بيقطع على اليمين اشارته خضراء. ترجع هو بضوء.
This is too much information. Let them think it on their own.
فهني عم بيقولوا لك كانوا فاكرين لمبه وحده، انه بالمبدا بدك تعمل انت اشارتك خضراء هو حمراء وانت حمراء هو خضراء، بس هيدي هي بيسكلي.
اوكي
يعني هيدي يعني عطيناكم بابسط طريقه. اوكي.
So I don't know what is your name, Sonic Legend. I'm thinking about a task for you.
That game was terrible.
بعتذر بخصوص الجيمر تاج، نسيت ما اقدر اغير الاسم تبعي، اسمي انطونيو.
هلا انطونيو. طيب اوكي I'm thinking about okay. So what I want you to do is to
while he's thinking Sonic Legend انه كيف فيك تنقي اسم احسن، يعني مثلا Sonic Mania، Sonic 2، بلد غير Sonic Legends.
هي اسم قديم كتير.
اوكي منا مشكله. المهم ما سميتها Sonic 206، هيدي ما منا مشكله هلا.
Okay, so basically what I want you to do, all of you can try it, guys. I want you to get a potentiometer and display the values, the voltage values from the potentiometer on the LCD. Guys, you can all try it and give me a question on it. Do you want me to write it?
اوكي.
ما فهمت، هذا تاسك ثاني او كيف؟
تاسك هو لانه عامل الترافيك لايت. I'm asking him to do this, so but like you can do easier. So the other task, okay, I'll write it on chat.
ولمين بنبعتها؟ بس
ايه
نضل
كيف
نختار.
نبعته قبل ما نحكي
I will give you my mail to not like bother Hadi. لا
بقدر
عبد.
اعمل لها شير من التينكر كاد لعندك؟
Yes you
اللينك
can.
لينك نعملها بابليك ونبعت لك اللينك.
جايز اسئله في اطرح اي شيء.
Okay, this is the other task. Thank you, Abed. Okay, guys, اللي عنده أسئلة، اللي عنده technical أسئلة، technical questions عن شي project هو عم يشتغل فيها، أو anything aside what I've done, or anything about what I've done, just ask me. Grab it, guys. Hit me with it.
التينكر كاد.
Okay.
انا مشتغل عليه من قبل، بس شفت هذا البلوك مثل كانه بازل واحد بركبها وهي بتعطي كود لوحدها.
Yes, this is called Sketch, I think. This is like a programming language that first was created for kids, to teach kids. I personally use it like to teach kids between 6 years and 10 years on Raspberry Pi. You can use it like similarly. So I can do another code, another workshop about Scratch, but it does not really make sense because you are.
كثير سمبل، حتى اللي ما بيعرف ابدا بروجرامينج يشتغل عليه.
Yes, it's for the people who does not know programming. If you do know programming, you don't need to go to Scratch.
So guys,
okay, another question.
هلا small introduction. هلا اللي حابب مثلا يعمل simple game for children فيه يستعمل سكراتش، يعمل لهم جيم لهم مثلا، بدل ما يعمل بروجرامينج لفول جيم وهيك. لا انا بس عم بعطي انه البيسك ابلكيشنز تاعه لما بس هو معك يعني اللي بيعرف البيسكس اوف بروجرامينج ما ضروري يستعمل سكراتش.
اوكي، وحطيت الميل نبعت عليه او نبعت
okay, this one Hadi will send it via mail. Hadi will send my email via mail, my contact via mail. Okay.
send it فرد مرة هلا.
Abed, Hadi, can you send the tasks and my contact?
اوكي التاسكس والكونتاكت اوكي وايميل حتى للباقيين يعني اوكي.
Okay guys, another question.
هلا اذا في بروجكت عم بشتغل عليه ممكن بس تلقي نظرة عليه هو تقريبا خالص؟
Yes for sure. If you want me to check.
هو obstacle avoidance car انه كثير كليشيه.
Nice one. Yes for sure, but not right now.
Yeah, maybe this one we can do it later on.
Later on, yes for sure.
We already
اوكي ميرسي.
فاذا ما عادش حدا عنده اسئله بس نتاكد انه كلكم مشي حالكم.
بس عمر وعبد اثنيناتهم معنا بالجروب ولا لا؟
We are both in the group.
اوكي.
علي. اوكي.
طيب هادي بس بدي اسالك بس كيف تعرف انه مين كان بالورك شوب حتى ياخذ سيرتيفيكيت؟
مبين المفروض.
ما انتم الفكره بدكم تبعتوا البروجكت لعمر، يعني انتم السيرتيفيكيت هي للشخص اللي بده يعمل الترافيك لايت اللي طلبها عمر، سو انتم بس تبعتوا له لعمر، عمر ويل كونفيرم ات وبيقول لي انه هون الاشخاص وقال سند ذم شو اسمه السيرتيفيكيت.
اوكي ماشي.
Guys, I know that you have another task. It does not have to be right. Just try it by your own. You will, if you send me the task, you will get the certificate.
Yes, sure. أكيد. So
thank you for the workshop.
Thank you so much Omar وعبد. Thank you so much guys for attending today's workshop. إن شاء الله تكونوا استفدتوا. بالنسبة للسيرتيفيكيتس مثل ما قال لكم هلا عمر. Don't forget to follow us on social media. IEEE LIU Student Branch. We're available on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. This session will be uploaded on YouTube, so you can watch it later on. Everybody can watch it. I'll send هلا my contact and the contact of عمر بنات اللي هو الفايس شير. If you need anything بعتقد كلكم صار عندكم اياه يعني بس انه احتياط واجب. If you need anything.
بدكم ورجيكم بدكم ورجيكم الفيديو تاع السيرفو ولا كيف؟
لا عبد
لا انه اخي عذبت حالي وركبتها وظبطت الدرايفر تاع الاردوينو تيجي اخي تقول لي لا ما تورجيهم اياه.
let him show it. It's okay.
يلا فرجينا.
اوكي يلا خليني بس اول شيء اوكي بس نشوف البروجرام. لا نيفر مايند. اوكي مثل ما قال لكم عمر هون كلمات البروجرام، قال لكم كيف تعملوا انكلود سيرفو 1 جوي اكس جوي واي اللي هي الاكس اكسس والواي اكسس تاع الجوي ستيك. كمان بنعمل انالوج ريد وبنعمل مابينج. كيف عملنا مابينج وقت كنا عم نحرك السيرفو هلا على شو اسمه نفس الشيء يعني بالتنكر كاد. هلا حنشوفها هلا على اللايف. يلا 1 سكند. اوكي مبين الفيديو فوتج.
مبين الفيديو فوتج.
اوكي هاي الانالوج وهيدي السيرفو. حنحرك الانالوج لفوق. ثانية كنت عمال ابلود على شيء ثاني بس لحظة وحدة. ايش هو اللي بيصير هو لما نحن كنا عاملين ابلود لانه للهلو وورلد، فاللي بيصير انه السوفت وير القديم اللي كنا حاطينه بيروح البروجرام القديم، فلما بنرجع نعمل له ابلود عن جديد. اوكي رجعت بشي حالة. نرجع هلا بنحطها بنجيب الانالوج. اوكي بنحرك. شوفيك عم تتحرك هلا يمين شمال ما عم تتحرك. ليه؟ لانه نحن عملنا البروجرام على الواي فاليو. انا هلا ليكم عم حرك على اليمين وعلى الشمال على الاكس فاليو، فلما تحرك لفوق لتحت او بالعكس يعني هم عاملينها على اكسس واحد مش على الثاني. فهلا ححرك على هذا الاكسس ليك، ولما تترك ترجع للاوريجينال بوزيشن وهيك بتصير تشتغل السيرفو. الاكزامبلز كثيره منهم المساحات بالسياره، منهم اكثر شيء الروبوتكس. كل الروبوتكس بيعتمدوا السيرفوز حتى تعولوا المصانع، واكيد فيهم بيعتمدوا ستابرز. هيدي هي بيسكلي يعني هيدي بس وحده من الدايمنشنز اللي فيكم تعملوها بالبروجرامينج الاردوينو. عندكم يعني تقريبا نير انفينيت possibilities الاشي اللي فيكم تعملوه على الاردوينو، لان هي كل واحد عنده طريقه يعمل فيها انتراكشن بين كل كومبوننت والثاني، وعندكم كومبوننتس يعني عد وفي كثير كومبوننتس بضل وعم ضل يطلع كومبوننتس جديده ان كانوا compatible مع الاردوينو او ان كانوا كومبوننتس ان جنرال.
This was like a fun experiment we used to do like in the real workshops, and like you got a headache like from the servo sound and the room.
الكل قلنا لهم خلاص disconnect your servos. بضل الكل على السيرفو يتكتك لانه it's fun honestly يعني انك عم تحرك انالوج وعم تشوف الفيدباك تبعها قدامك يعني. فانه imagine the possibilities.
Okay, thank you عبد.
هلا من بعد ما انا عملت على الاردوينو بدي اعمل ثاني كيف في اعمل له ريسيت او فورمات؟ هلا في كبسه ريسيت
ابلود لامتي سكتش بتعمل.
You mean Tinkercad or the Arduino IDE?
لا الاردوينو
اوكي
just like this and upload.
بتحط شهر مع كبسه الريسيت.
upload the reset will restart the Arduino.
تعمل ريستارت للكلوك بس مش للسوفت وير اللي انت عامله ابلود.
بس بحط انتي
بس تعمل ابلود لامتي سكتش. كبسه جماعه كبسه الريست هي اذا انت عامل بروجرام عم بيعمل كاونتنج او عم بيمشي كاونتر تايمر او اللي هو لما تكبس الريست بيرجع بعيدها من الاول بس.